Welcome into another episode of Discard for Magic. I'm one of your hosts, Aaron.
I'm your other host, James or Jaxic, and today we're welcoming back Magnifico.
Hello.
We're going to have him talk to us about the Deepwood Groaks, but before I get to that, I have a question, which I'm going to start asking our returning guests, which is, we already know how you got into Summoner Wars, but what do you think keeps you coming back?
I like Summoner Wars. It doesn't really get old. There's just so many matchups at this point. Even though I play a lot, and that's even playing just a few factions. So honestly, it's kind of just like an endless well. However much you want to take from Summoner Wars, it's there for the taking. So kind of an easy game to come back to. It's quick to play. Matches are exciting. There's like big peaks, and then every match is kind of like a cool story too. So I don't know. It's just it never really feels like I'm kind of on a treadmill doing the same thing. It's always like a new experience. It's always a fulfilling experience. It's just the perfect game.
All right, thank you.
The perfect game.
I'm going to put that on the box. New starter set.
Magnifico said the perfect game.
Do a Deepwood Groaks review, because like you said, you tend to dive really deep into factions, so I think that makes you a good candidate for these kinds of podcasts. You did the Obsidian Dwarves before, and the Deepwood Groaks are real different, I'd say. What do you think got you into the Deepwood Groaks initially?
I got very comfortable with them pretty quickly, and then like I kind of like that higher level. Like once you get past the learning curve, I kind of like all the like aha moments and like all the things that are only available like once you're at like a high level. And they were a strong faction, but they also just like clicked with me in many ways where it's like I felt like I was enjoying the game at like a higher level. So it was just easy to keep going with. I still enjoy every match with them. I'm not sure like what particular aspect like makes them my favorite exactly offhand, but what got me into them for sure is just I'll get more into that as we talk about like how they work. Sure. I think, but
yeah. So I guess we could start by asking Aaron's usual question. He likes to ask, what are some key tips you have for people starting out to make good plays? Something like that, right, Aaron?
Yeah.
Well, with Deepwood Groaks, I would say there's kind of like two different factions. One of the factions has all of their kind of like pieces online. They're firing all the cylinders and they can kind of deal with anything that comes. And that's Deepwood Groaks in the fast lane. That's where you want to be. The other side of the coin is Deepwood Groaks that's like struggling to get their pieces online, trying to keep up with the cool things the other factions can do. And they might feel a little bit in the slow lane. So what you want to do with Deepwood Groaks is kind of focus on getting your powerful pieces online. So then all your answers kind of flow freely from there. If you aren't like focused on getting those pieces online, you might feel like you're playing an uphill battle against factions that can do cooler things than you. With Deepwood Groaks, really like you want to have like an overall picture in mind of like what you're trying to achieve, even if it's like one thing at a time, one piece at a time, not at full power when the game starts. So you just keep focusing on making your faction stronger through the boost mechanics and the potions and all of that. And once you arrive at your destination, I think it's kind of clear what to do.
Are there units when you're early in a game that you try and boost first? Are you like trying to get a couple boosts on like a seer or like a warrior?
Seer is kind of like one of the first goals. Getting at least one high rank seer is really good. The longer the game goes with having like a seer just like firing shots at whatever it wants, kind of like your advantage kind of grows. So I would say you want to get a seer online fairly quickly. I'd say the only thing that takes higher priority than getting a seer boosted right away is just like building the boosts themselves. But seer is my like number one goal from the start, I'd say.
So then you were saying when you're trying to build the boosts themselves, does that mean if you have early wardens to try to get them out and like entangled with each other as quickly as you can, sort of thing, or?
Yeah, exactly. You kind of want a boost engine, or you want to kind of focus on delaying the game until you get like a boost engine online. You want to like eat like a feast of boosts. You don't want to like have them trickling in slow. So wardens are definitely kind of like the thing that self-generates. Like the early game focus, definitely warden is kind of like the star of the show. Like the reason you're doing it early on for me is the seer. And there are some other things as well and other routes you can take. Like your cards aren't always going to line up like perfectly. So luckily they're a flexible faction, so there are different things you can do. But if you're asking me like just theory wise, I would say number one goal, get Seer online but the boosts kind of like feed everything, so that's kind of like the underlying goal anyway, like no matter what happens.
If you're trying to generate the boost, another way you can do that is with Hecataya's momentum ability from your summoner. So you're trying to maybe attack safely as often as you can with her as well, or?
Yes, particularly early. The 4 attack is actually like a pretty big advantage early on. It's a nice like chunky attack before those like bigger numbers are easy to earn. If you can get value out of that, that's always good. But wardens are kind of like the way you're going to do that generally. Acacia, I wouldn't say like it's the number one thing I'm focusing on, but it's better to attack with more dice than with less dice. And Acacia is like kind of like the most dice you're going to be attacking with early on. If I can reasonably protect her or even take a little bit of damage, that's fine too. Yeah, the momentum ability does count. We'll get into the boost economy later, but like that one extra boost can definitely make a difference and maybe even save you a whole turn. So attack with Acacia if you can, yes.
And then like with the Mystics, which are another way for you to generate boosts, do you tend to try and place those boosts just straight onto Heck, or do you try and place them onto like another unit or potion, or where do you tend to direct those most often, do you think?
Generally a unit or a potion. Well, it's the only way to grow a potion after it's already been played. I mean, the way I look at it, if I'm using the unit, I want to use it for its unique features. So the unique things about a Mystic, there's quite a few unique things about them. But the most obvious thing is its ability to add boost mid-round. So you don't have to wait until the Arcane Brew phase at the end of the turn. So being able to make a Seer useful the same turn you play it, that's a huge advantage. So that's something I'd always be looking for first. If that's not necessary or it's not an option, then the default option kind of is to lay it on a potion. All of the potions are really good once they're like played and loaded. So keeping them going, just getting an extra swift potion, extra strong potion or whatever, that's always good. It's just a nice fun bonus. So that's kind of like the default. Give them to Acacia. Sometimes the less common option. First I'm looking for units, then potions, and then to Acacia generally.
And you said you often put them on Seers, but do you ever find yourself kind of putting them on Warriors in the middle of a turn and then pulling them back at the end of the turn with Brew?
Oh yeah, for sure. Seers and Warriors kind of in the same that unit category, so they can both be boosted mid-round. It's the only way to do it. It makes a difference, and you can pull it back or leave it. I often like to leave boosts on Warriors, but if you have a reasonable expectation that it's going to die, then yeah, sure, you can pull some off. I never like to leave them empty, though, unless it's like, for sure they're going to die, like they have 1 HP or something.
Yeah, I was noticing Snalga's another top DG player, and he would often leave like 1 boost on a warrior, or maybe 2, just kind of like so that it can still threaten a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I do the same thing, actually. Like, if I'm almost certain it's going to die, then maybe I'll make it, if I don't have any other higher priority, like Arcane Brew target, 2 is kind of the baseline attack, I feel like, in this game, where it's not a great attack, but it's, like, decent. You're not really ever happy to attack with, like, a 1 unit, so, like, your opponent also kind of can ignore it. I just don't want it to be in a situation where the opponent can ignore it. So if it has even 1 boost, yeah, it's a 2 attack unit. It could turn into 3 from the Mystic, which could even be 4 from a strong potion. So it kind of keeps the opponent guessing and gives them hard decisions about what to kill and what to focus on. I just don't want to make things easy for your opponent. Why would you want to do that? So yeah, I don't like to empty them completely.
Makes sense. Yeah, don't completely abandon the Warriors, even if you think they might die. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I paid 2 magic for it. Come on. I'm getting as much as I can out of it.
Are there certain units that you find you don't play as much as others? Like, do you play at all the Mystics and all the Wardens, all the Seers, or do you not play some of them? Or
I never play all of them all of the time. It's Summoner Wars, so you always got to adapt. So there's no like hard rule. But I would be loath to discard like a Warden, generally, I would say. They just help the DG game plan a lot. Sticks are discardable, but it really just depends on the situation. They feed the opponent magic if you don't have like a proper setup, or if they're like all up in your face and stuff. So there's many situations where sure, I'll discard Mystics. I'm not trying to play every common anymore, like I did when I first started DG, the old DG. But I would say anything is discardable. Warden is the least discardable to me. Seers, they're kind of like the star of the show in a way, but you don't need all 4 of them.
Because at most you could attack with 3 anyway, so maybe just 2 or 3 in the back or something.
Yeah, I mean they're a decent unit no matter what, honestly, but you need magic sometimes, and they're a good source of it. You already have exactly like if you have 2 Seers, they're loaded with boosts. Like you have enough Seers, in my opinion. Some matchups where opponent can actually kill them, that kind of changes the decision there. The way I look at it, I'm planning to discard either 1 or 2 Seers most games.
You already alluded to it a bit, but how do you think the champion play, how do you think it works now that the deck has changed? It sounds like you played the champions more, and yeah, just kind of go through in order which ones you play the most, I guess.
They're all good. So a lot of it will have to do with the magic situation, honestly, and then the matchup situation. Those are like the two underlying things there, but all of the champions are good. I would say if I discard one, it's usually just because I drew it at the time I didn't want it. I have nothing but good things to say about any of the three champions. Which one do you want to talk about?
Let's start with
Eldorath?
Eldorath, sure.
Eldorath, yeah. Yeah, Eldorath is pretty straightforward champion. It's a pretty decent body no matter what. It's a ranged unit. DG actually doesn't really have that many real ranged units. The Seer is like a super ranged unit, but it can't hit champions, right? Or summoners. So that extra range attack can actually matter. So Eldorath is like a viable body alone. But then the ability is just really easy to use. It has like an insane aura. Very easy to protect Eldorath if you need to. It can kind of make your boost management easier and also a lot faster. There's a lot of like subtleties with the way the boosts start flying around, but basically Eldorath can kind of save you some turns. You don't have to save boosts that are starting to grow kind of big. You don't have to save them anymore. You can kind of just let them collect on Eldorath, and that lets you use your turns to boost your units instead. So that's kind of like a hidden benefit that's really good about Eldorath. It kind of like accelerate your game, which DG is kind of a slow faction, so any chance you have to kind of speed things up like that is good. So for 3 magic, getting to unlock that, just that velocity is cool. That's one mode of using Eldorath. The other mode, it's just you throw Eldorath in the mix, like I said, like a ranged unit. It kind of like just passively collects boosts. That's a good use too. So there's different ways to use Eldorath. It's always a pretty good unit. Sometimes you need magic. I'll discard Eldorath. Solid champion for sure.
What about moving on to Kalik?
I mentioned the kind of like wanting for like real ranged unit. And there's your real ranged unit. That's Kalik. Kalik synergizes with all the potions, obviously, because it's on the card. But then it's like, there's like some extra oomph with each of the potions. The potions each make Kalik stronger, but then they also interact with Kalik in a way that makes Kalik even stronger than that. I would say the ceiling for Kalik is really high. It's a champion you kind of want to protect and get value out of. Even just the boost generation is really valuable. It's kind of easy to generate almost enough boosts for everything you want to do. Kalik will just push you over the edge and give you like definitely enough sometimes if you roll well. And that's kind of like the Oathsworns with Obsidian Dwarves. Getting benefit off both the hits and the special symbols. That's just a cool benefit because it's like, I don't know, it's really hard to roll bad, like truly bad. So
just regular swords are the bad roll at that point.
yeah, exactly. So Kalik's just like your ranged person who can put a lot of dice on, and there's not too much for me to say about it other than you want to attack with Kalik a lot and protect Kalik so you can attack a lot. It's not the beefiest unit, but the Swift Potion really helps you to protect it, and you're probably always going to have Swift Potion online before you even think of playing Kalik. So
that makes sense. Swift allows him to go hide behind gates or wardens or whatever else. Yeah.
Either makes him live longer. Strong Potion helps generate more boosts and kill those high priority targets, because that's what Kalik's probably going to be going after. Like, probably going to be pounding the summoner champions, stuff that finishing off stuff that's kind of hard to reach. Kalik is your go get stuff done champion.
Yeah, I like to use Kalik, especially after I have like Swift and Strong in play, because those ones you don't have to worry about going away. It's nice if you can catch it at the right time with like a Wither, or even if a Poison's played the right way and it works to have Kalik at that time. But having a Swift and Strong makes Kalik at least 4 attack, 5 if you use the Strong, which can be pretty strong. So
yeah, great point. Exactly. Those 2 potions are kind of like the baseline for Kalik, and then the other ones are kind of like gravy if you can get them.
Yeah, the other ones also, like, not only do they go away, but they cost magic, so it's just a tougher play.
True.
Why don't we move on to the potion boy himself, Mirrodin.
Mirrodin will win you games because, a lot of times the DG are going for an economic win. Their economic strength can definitely get them some assassinations, because a lot of times your opponent will be pressured to take risks. So you can kill summoners, sure. Your way you actually have control of winning the game without like your opponent offering you the summoner is usually economic win. And Mirrodin's your strong economic champion, builds a card, builds magic every time he kills something. Also can contextually get the potion you happen to need at the time. So it's just a really good ability, really good benefit. And Mirrodin also synergizes with the potions. for protection and for like strong potion makes the goal easier to achieve of killing stuff, getting benefits for killing. Swift potion makes them easier to stay alive, but then wither potion is where it really kind of can even become like a win condition. Just like recurring wither potions over and over with Mirrodin can be pretty insanely strong.
I feel like I've had that happen. It might have been against you. I'm trying to remember. But yeah, I think I was playing Vanguards, and like you just kept playing Wither, and I was just like,
Yeah, it can be actually really hard to deal with for some factions. A lot of factions, like Vanguards is actually one of them, but there's some other ones. Some factions they really have a lot of trouble attacking for like more than one die when that wither is up. So a 7 health champion is like whatever, that's textbook. But when there's a wither potion every turn, all of a sudden that 7 strength champion is like you feel like you have to kill him, but you just can't. So wither potion is kind of like Mirrodin's best friend, I feel like. It's part of his utility belt.
Yeah, it's always nice, especially endgame, getting those potions back, and you can continue to recur. And a lot of factions don't have if you protect Mirrodin well enough, a lot of factions don't have a rebuttal. Like I know, like Fungal Dwarves, Vanguards, factions like that don't really have a rebuttal if you keep Mirrodin well protected, and they're out of like the Renew Hope and the Stim Shrooms and the couple cards that make them a little interesting. And
Yeah, well said. Really, you only need to kill like a few things with Mirrodin to like get a pretty significant advantage, and that's just with the economic outlook from the getting the potions back, but not even counting like all the other benefits. So it's pretty cool. I would say like Mirrodin is probably, put a gun to my head, well, who's the strongest champion? I would probably say Mirrodin.
I don't know if they're all pretty close. I don't know which one I'd lean to. I feel like people tend to lean Eldrath because it's the easiest to use and it's the cheapest. Mirrodin's definitely got the value.
so do you think that in some of the longer games you play, you often will play all 3 champions?
No, I would say that would be unusual. Even against like Crimson Order or something, I'll probably discard one.
Just because the timing on it.
I would say flat out no, I'm not playing 3 champions. If I do, it's like a unique situation. I'm probably going to remember that game.
Maybe I just play champions too often.
I don't know. Maybe I need to look at Jexic style sometime.
I don't know how often I play DG, but I'm just thinking like there's certain factions that I will, like Wayfarers, Sand Goblins, and I will find myself.
Oh, even in general. Yeah, I don't think I remember you playing DG before.
You playing them also makes it harder.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know if I've really played them since the changes. Like I was playing Vanguards after the changes recently just to get a feel for them, but yeah, I've mostly been playing Wayfarers, Obsidian Dwarves, and even Polar Dwarves this season.
Oh, good.
Haven't played them since that one time Bean called you out after you randomized and got them. Why don't we jump into which of the potions do you want to start with?
Are we done with the commons? Because I feel like the commons are actually the meat of this deck.
I mean, we can talk more about the commons. What do you got for us?
The Wardens, we did talk about them. I did basically gush about them for a while, about how they're like a big focus, especially early game, to build those boosts. But for the boost engine, I would say one thing you can really do, every common in the DG, I think, kind of has like a high ceiling. Used to their maximum potential, they get like insanely good. Every common. But then they also have like a baseline level, which is either more or less good. But for Wardens, I would say the way to get the most value out of them is shuffle them, try to keep them alive as long as possible. We've already talked about how they compound boosts and everything. Keeping low health Wardens alive, I'll even try to keep one alive as like a battery all game, even if it's wounded, tuck it behind a gate or something.
Like you would Colleen or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like how I would imagine if I ever played Vanguards. That's what
if you ever played Vanguard.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, just like having that battery all game, it kind of makes DG way more reliable if you can keep a Warden alive all game. Otherwise, you might run into pockets where you don't have the boosts you need. And then the other thing about Wardens, just like the timing of the Arcane Brew, you generally want to go for big payoffs because I mentioned them being slow, so you want to grab a lot of boosts or use a lot of boosts with a potion. I don't really like grabbing like a trickle of boosts. So that's the other reason shuffling them can be so good. Instead of like, oh, that one's going to die, let me take the boost and sacrifice it. No, I think a lot of times it's better to let it get a couple more boosts, even though it was about to die, but now you protected it. And now you have a more efficient turn.
I think that's a really good point. And something you mentioned there, I want to touch on a little bit more. You talked about putting them behind a gate once they get low. I think this is underutilized because Wardens behind a gate are untouchable basically by most factions. And they'll still get boost from like every unit that's getting attacked that's in front of that gate.
Right.
There's so much boost generation you can get just off that. Like, even if it's not a low health warden yet, sometimes I'll start a warden behind a gate just because I see that all my attackable units are in front of that gate, and it'll get like 2 to 3 boosts just off that turn.
Yeah, you got it. Exactly. It's so good that it's like worth considering that for like your gate placement, I think. Your gates are there kind of like to benefit your wardens, your mystics, and your seers, obviously. Seers is one everyone knows about, but definitely your wardens and your mystics are companions to the gates too. So your gate placement should take that into consideration. Which warden am I going to need to save soon? Stuff like that.
Yeah, gate placement is pretty crucial for the Deepwood Groaks.
The MVP unit makes all your stuff so much better.
I mean, it really does.
A true MVP.
Keeps everything super safe.
Yeah, other commons like mystics, they're your only real ranged unit. Their ceiling just comes from probably the synergy with like the potions. If you can keep a mystic alive multiple turns, that's good. And a lot of times with those weaker ranged units, factions don't necessarily have that option. But with Deepwood Groaks, you do have that option with Swift Potion. I don't really actually like to use mystics as throwaway units if I can help it. I mean, sometimes you have to, but if you can help it, you're in an economic battle, so you don't want to feed your opponent easy magic either. So the fact that they can keep a Swift Potion going indefinitely and then also use it to stay alive, hit and run, it's just awesome. Yeah. They're an awesome unit because of the Swift Potion. That's why I would say their ceiling comes from. Warriors are kind of hard to use, but you have a lot of tools to protect them. You have Swift Potions, Wither Potions, and Wardens. It is viable to get the big attacks with them. Some factions that just don't have like the tricks necessary to really give credible threats to your warriors if you have them protected at least like one or two ways.
Or if they don't have like being able to attack multiple times from range from the same side or something.
Yeah.
Again, is this from recently? I think we played with the Vanguards and like you just clobbered my Valna. I was like, Valna's gonna win. Valna's gonna do all this good stuff, and then I just got murdered by.
Oh yeah, I think I remember that. She had some insane stats or something.
And the warrior, I just couldn't get to it. You started the warrior out behind your gate, and then just slowly moved it forward and had boosts on it. And I could never attack it from more than one side or zero sides because of a warden.
Yeah, and then Seers. Everyone loves the Seer behind the gate. It's kind of like the easy one to get a lot of mileage out of. Like I said, kind of like the longer you can do it during the game, the better. Further up, the more flexible it's going to be. You're going to have more reach over the board. And a lot of factions, just even if they do have tricks, a lot of times their tricks aren't hard-hitting enough to actually credibly threaten a Seer. Or if they do, they have to invest so much, and you can just play another one. Seer, MVP, in a lot of matchups. If you can get two Seers, that's one of your objectives. Two Seers online with enough to threaten the board. With the Seers, I would say they can help focus fire stuff. Yes, they have that reach. But I would say one big advantage of a Seer, they can get in the game where you can hit them, they can't really hit you that well. Maybe they don't really even have any good targets. With Seers, one important thing to look at is, are you also limiting their targets when you use the Seers?
So you're saying don't put something on the front line necessarily if you can avoid it, just if you don't have to.
I'm not sure I'd take it that far, but yeah, basically you want to be picky about it. You want to like milk all the advantage you can out of these common units. Like I said, there's a high ceiling where they're doing their best, and with a Seer, it's doing its best by giving you way better targets than your opponent can get. If you're hitting them with Seers, which are a 2-attack unit, which is fine, but not like above average or anything, Strong Potion makes them a lot better. But if you're doing that, it doesn't necessarily automatically give you a huge advantage, but it does when your opponent can't also hit good stuff.
Are there any matchups in which you don't use Seers? Because there's somewhere there like Seers are very, very good, and most their Seers are like pretty good. But are there any matchups in which you don't think Seers are as viable?
Not viable. I would say that's too extreme. I think they're always good. They're always viable. There's definitely matches where they're less good or playstyle against opponent playstyles. A lot of anti-Deepwood Groak tech people came up with, it involves minimizing Seer's impact. They can definitely be made less good by certain factions or certain opponents, but I would never say it's to the point where they're not a huge contributing factor to Deepwood Groak's strength. And that even includes when the opponent negates them. They have to like play around them. That's still an advantage, right?
I mean, they're good even when you're getting pressured. It seems like if you're up against the cave goblins or something. The other thing I think that's good about Seers, that's a little unclear at first, is that they kind of give you misinsurance. Like you attack with something, and let's say you have like a 3-on-3 with a warrior that you want to get that 3 out of 3. But if you miss it, if you have a warrior anywhere within 5 spaces, they can potentially finish off those missed opportunities. Whereas with another faction, you might not even be able to attack that unit a second time. But with Seers, it allows you to really like clean up, it seems like.
Yeah, I agree completely. It's a great point.
The only thing I really struggle with is like if someone's really like literally only playing champions and their summoner, but not many factions can really do that, I don't think.
People get pretty good at playing around seers. I have to give credit to the community. They can make it really annoying to actually get to use the seer well. Some players are really, really good at it. Generally, they're going to be sacrificing something, even if they are minimizing your seers, like I said. And yeah, some factions, they are pretty suited to just throw some champions at you and kind of make you uncomfortable if you were going the full-on turtle strategy. But honestly, it's not really necessary, so.
So yeah, do we want to talk about the potions, even though you've kind of touched on them throughout all the commons and champions?
There's some we didn't really talk about. Like I talked about synergy with Mirrodin. There's other games where Wither is still good though. So yeah, we can talk about them. I guess I'll start with Swift Potion and just work my way down. But for the most commonly played to the least, all of the potions have their uses, but I think there's like a definite hierarchy. Swift Potion is the most useful. It kind of just helps with everything that's good in Summoner Wars. It helps you get more damage on a target. It helps you with movement. It helps you avoid damage. It's very flexible in its usage. So it's kind of like the potion you're never regretting that you boosted it up. And if you can keep it the whole game, great. And it does synergize with a lot of the units well. Deepwood Groaks happens to have a lot of things where it's like, oh, I want to protect this piece. So Swift Potion will help with that a lot. It's like their only way to kind of be tricky. It's not really that tricky because it's very telegraphed and everyone kind of knows it's like their one trick. So it's not like you're going to surprise anyone with a Swift Potion, but still it kind of gives you those extra options that make things harder for your opponent. All those things just add up to kind of make it like the best potion. Generally, you're going to want to play it every game, I would say. Strong Potion is really good because damage is good, so that's kind of obvious. It also has direct synergy with a lot of the units. Mirrodin wants to make sure he kills stuff. The Seers, as I mentioned, you're often in an efficiency war, so Seers can launch attacks, but they don't guarantee you're out damaging your opponent just because you have more flexibility. Strong Potion makes it a lot more likely that you are actually out damaging your opponent. It helps you take down champions, which is kind of like one of the Achilles heel of Deepwood Groaks. They aren't super great at champions out of the box, but Strong Potion is one of the pieces they need to deal with champions, or not need necessarily, but it'll help. It gives you a lever over like risk. If you're doing well, you can take less risks, be a little less efficient, and just use Strong Potion to make sure you kill stuff, to make sure you kind of stay ahead of the game. Or if you're trying to make a comeback fighting from behind, you can just try to get your 3 out of 3s or 2 out of 2s and save your strong potions for bigger plays. Either use is good, I think, but you just kind of have to gauge where you are in the game if you're ahead or behind. And I really like having those risk levers, just like in Obsidian Dwarves. I like being able to dial up or dial down the risk depending on if I'm ahead or not. Strong Potion is kind of the thing that gives you control over those tides. So really like Strong Potion. I generally want to play it every game. I don't play it every game, but I generally want to. Second best potion. Wither Potion, it's actually amazing. It's harder to play, but yes, it's very amazing. It just makes things so hard for your opponent, but only in the case where they're like up in your face or you're up in their face. Otherwise, there's like high level tricks, they can attack your own stuff and stuff. But you don't really have time to do that if you're in like a do or die rush on your opponent, or if the Deepwood Groaks have managed to get into their territory. So in those two situations, Wither Potion, they're just going to have to eat it. They're going to have to take their 3 attacks, and they're going to have to eat the reduced damage. Some factions, as we touched on, like Crimson Order or Vanguards, they can really struggle to find good attack values with Wither Potion. They can really struggle to kill stuff. And the fact that Wither synergizes so strongly with like the best units is what just makes it amazing. The Wardens, they're going to be really hard to kill under Wither Potion, and then being harder to kill, there's going to be more attacks, there's going to build more boosts, they're going to be compounding off each other. All of a sudden your booster is going to get out of control if you can keep Wither going with Wardens. That's like almost like a win condition in itself sometimes in some matchups. Warriors help keep them alive. Mystics, same thing. They only have 2 health still, so it's not like they're a tank all of a sudden, but it just makes it that much more likely that your opponent will roll 1 whiff or something and your Mystic will get to attack again. Which anytime you get to attack multiple times with a Mystic is amazing. The champions, we kind of talked about why Wither helps them. Kalik has built-in synergy with potions and helps keep Kalik alive longer. Mirrodin, we've talked about. So basically my point with all of this is just that Wither directly synergizes with almost every piece in the Deepwood Groaks arsenal. So that's what makes it actually amazing. It's been kind of maligned, but a lot of that's just because it's hard to play and it's situationally amazing. But when you can play it in the right situation, your opponent is not going to be happy.
Yeah, I think there's certain factions that have a lot of ways around it, but a lot of factions don't, like the Vanguards and your Crimson Order, even like a Wayfarers. Those factions that can't get extra attacks in really struggle to deal with the Wither. potion. But like your goblins and like some of those other factions that have a lot of attacks, it's not as beneficial, but it still can work well.
Yeah, everything's matchup dependent, but you definitely highlighted the right thing. Like, if you can get more than 3 attacks, they can kind of make your wither much less efficient. Definitely lame to lose it in one turn after the big investment. Still, like, they generally have to spend some kind of resource. You generally will build more boosts with your wardens or whatever, so it can still be a marginal benefit in a pinch, especially against even like a cave goblins. Yeah, they got ways around it, but sometimes you need it for that aggressive faction.
Yeah, and against those factions that can't get extra attacks in a turn, these that are limited to 3, is that often when you'll try to use the Mystic to boost the potion so they can just get as much use out of the Wither as you can?
Just depends. Honestly, a lot of the boosting is timing based. Sometimes you actually want a potion to fall off, not wither generally, but sometimes even wither. But sometimes you want them to fall off so you can play the other copy. It's very contextual. It's hard for me to give a straight answer, but yeah, I will often boost wither. It's a big investment. So if I played it in the first place, it was probably like a good idea to play it. So I generally want to keep it going, but just depends. Sometimes I'll have a wither up and I'll boost something else with a mystic. So I don't really want to commit to an answer there, honestly. Yeah, Wither's awesome. It's costly, but it can become more justifiable because you can look at the board and be like, all right, nothing's going to die after I play it. So I don't need much magic next turn, My whole army is still going to be here. I'm going low on magic to play Wither, but I'll be okay. It might be obvious to a lot of people, but I would say the 2 things to watch out for. Well, the one thing isn't obvious probably, except really experienced players, but that's like the self-attacking. You don't want to use Wither in situations where they can easily just waste it and they aren't in a rush. And then you also don't want to use it when you have too many like low HP targets, like 1 HP, If they don't need many dice to have a good turn, then your Wither was a waste. You want to use it when your army's kind of like generally healthy, you're playing fresh units with it, and yada yada.
That makes sense. One more potion left. We've hardly heard its name tonight, so
yeah, I mean, there's a reason for that. It's definitely the worst card in the deck. Poison Potion. It's situationally pretty good, but it's more situational, I would say, than Wither. Just as expensive. Generally not a great option. I would say most of the time. Even when I can almost justify it, a lot of times I end up... There's just usually better stuff you can do.
It's even more faction dependent than I feel like Wither is. Like Wither, even against like those factions that can attack like a lot, is still beneficial. But like Poison, there's some factions where it's actively like a bad card.
Yeah, for sure.
Like Shadow Elves, for example, because they want to hurt their own units, and that gains them boosts. And so like there's certain matchups like that where like if you play the Poison Potion, you are actively hurting your own gameplay, and you paid to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't played the Groaks nearly as much as our guest, but the one time I think that I've seen it be useful kind of is against summoners that want to move a lot, and you think you might want to win by assassination, which Groaks don't want to do. But if you're getting just extra damage on Svara for free, essentially, or like a Summoner of the Forge, that kind of thing, because those guys want to move. In the ideal situation where Poison Potion would actually do 1 damage to what you want to do damage to, then it's better than Strong Potion theoretically. But the problem is that your opponent can pick where the damage goes.
Mm-hmm.
Just to make one thing clear, I think a lot of times when people hear like, Poison Potion sucks, I think their idea is that means it doesn't really do much or doesn't do anything or it doesn't hurt your opponent. That's not true. You're going to probably get a damage on the summoner at some point. You're probably going to damage some other stuff, make it easier to kill, whatever. It's not that it's bad like in a vacuum like that, where it's just like your opponent gets to choose, but I would say honestly, unless you're just literally playing it without really thinking, it's probably not going to be super easy for them to just like completely waste it. You're going to get benefit out of it, but it's more about the opportunity cost because it's so costly.
Because it takes an extra magic and all the boost you're spending.
Yeah, it's the magic. It's the not discarding it magic. It's the 5 boosts. Unless there's multiple 1 HP units on the board or something, or you're playing against a faction that has 1 HP units, like Cave Goblins or something, you're not necessarily turning the tide immediately with poison. There's often just better things you can do with the magic and with the boosts. Even if poison would have done something, even if you play poison, your opponent isn't just like, that was a waste, haha. But it just often isn't the best move, and you got to make the best moves, right? And there's a lot of fun times where you do get to use it. And I love when those situations come up because it's the least played potion. I love when the situation comes up where it's like, I should definitely play it. Oh my god, I love this game. This is justified. Blah blah blah. It's kind of cool sometimes because those situations do arise. There's a lot of checkmate situations, especially. That's kind of like the easy classic example where it's like the summoner's trapped and the poison potion is the cage.
Sometimes in like end game, like if you had extra magic kind of anyway, sort of situation, you're not sure what to do with the boost, and you've got the poison potion. Their summoner's getting low on health. I think it was against Svara, where I was like, what I would do is I'd hit Svara or whoever with like a mystic, and then swift potion away, and then also have poison potion up. So if they want to attack me back, they basically need to take the damage from poison to hit me. That kind of thing.
Yeah, poison I feel like can be really good end game. Like if you get to the end game, which Groaks often do, depending on how you're playing Groaks, good chance you'll get to that end game. And if you're down to like just a couple units in your opponent's summoner, poison can be really strong. But am I going to hold on to it the entire game for that? Probably not.
Even just having less units on the board at the end game and less optionality, it's definitely good. But that Bearden can actually keep that as like an option though, right?
Yeah, for sure.
In an end game situation, there have been a lot of times where I'll elect to get poison back. It's the potion that's actually the best in those situations a lot of times, actually. Either wither or poison can be pretty devastating in a small board situation.
And there are factions where it hurts them a lot more. You mentioned Cave Goblins. It's very devastating against Cave Goblins. It might be one of the best potions against Cave Goblins. But it's also like pretty good against like Forged. Whenever they move, then they take 2 damage for the most part. It's good against like Storm Goblins, and there's a fair amount of factions where it can be pretty good. It's just not as good as the other potions are just so good.
Yeah, in my opinion, the second best example is Storm Goblins. I'm always looking for opportunities to play it against Storm Goblins. You do have to be careful though. But yeah, definitely, like if you can delay their plans for a couple turns by playing Poison Potion at the right time, right? Makes it those Volt Swappers just can't really get where they need to be, and it's amazing. It's an amazing use for it for sure.
Yeah, and Thrax always moving around trying to get into position, and there's a lot of work that can be done with poison with Storm Goblins.
Yeah, so for me, Cave and Storm are like the top 2 examples. It's boosted by the matchup. It sounds like you like it a little more than I do against Cave Goblins, so I'm not completely co-signing everything, but definitely those 2 matchups.
Cave Goblins are interesting because it shuts down your slingers basically 100%. If you've played all your slingers, or like you're at that point where you don't have any in your hand or something, it's not as detrimental, and like you can use like clingers to get around it, and there's different ways to get around it. Sneaks can sly in, and it really shuts down slingers, which are normally pretty crucial to Cave Goblins game plan.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
If they're in that part. And they also have Unrelenting, which can pair well with the use of poison. They get the poison played on them, and then they aren't playing slingers. They can hurt all their own units and then play Unrelenting, and then you're just going to probably kill them anyway and give them back full health.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. That's interesting.
Yeah. So there are like some tricks around it, but it definitely, if they're trying to use slingers or set up some big turns with slingers, it can really hamper what they're trying to do.
Definitely.
But then there's other factions like Crimson Order or Fungal Dwarves who don't care as much because of their recursion, or because like Crimson Order with the Baron can heal and just take the damage and heal, or take the damage and use Priest to get more attack, or take the damage and transfuse, or Crimson Order don't mind damage. So
yeah, I play it as just like it's way less than Stronger Swift. I'll say it that way.
Probably the majority of games you aren't playing a poison potion at all, is what you're saying, right? Basically.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would easily not the majority. I might play Wither like half the games, so take it from there.
But poison's probably more like 10 or 20% of the games or something, or
probably less.
Okay. So it's significantly worse, basically. Part of that, though, is like it's opportunity cost. Your other potions are so good, makes poison look worse, basically.
If I do play it, you're either in trouble or I'm really desperate. But usually it's that you're in trouble. When it's like playable, it's usually like a really good use to justify it.
What do you feel about like the changes that have been made to the Deepwood Groaks? We sort of mentioned it. You mentioned earlier that they were very strong, and they've had some changes made. It used to be that Heck could move boost throughout the entire turn, and now it's only at the end of your turn in the magic phase. So that hampers a little bit of like what they could do with warriors or different units, and a little of the explosiveness. What are your takes on it?
Very positive. It's very positive change as far as like just design and fun goes, I would say. I'd say the faction's more interesting now than it used to be. I already like the faction, but I would say it's more interesting now. There's a little bit more depth to everything as far as like the way you use the units and everything. It gives them a bit of a slower feel. For someone who played the first version, there might be a bit of like getting over it, I think. But I would say if it was released this way today, the way it is now, if that was like the original release, I think it would be like crazy to think to change it to anything else. Like, it really fits. It kind of feels like it just works this way. Not only did the nerf bring things more in line balance wise, but it also just increased kind of like the depth and skill expression you can have when using stuff like warriors. It's just more interesting to use than just having. It was just too easy before, particularly the warriors. The seers took a bit of a hit, not being able to attack long range the same turn. That's fine. Just gives the opponent a little bit more breathing room. It's really like the warrior nerf for the most part, and it makes the faction more interesting overall. It makes more of their other strategies come to the forefront. It makes you use other pieces instead of just relying on like the seer warrior combo, which kind of drowned everything else out. Good change. Good job, PHG. Good job, testers.
I agree with most of what you said. I think it definitely makes the faction more interesting. Where do you think they fall now? We have 28 decks. Like, so where would, I mean, I know you don't play all the decks, but based on your experience playing against all the other decks and where DG might fall, where do you think they are now in terms of like the overall power level?
I would say quite strong. I don't have like a tier list in mind right now, but it's like if I just had to like conceptualize it to like a layman, like I would say they fall maybe just short of like the very best factions, like which I would consider like maybe like the Filth or something. They're not like that level. To me, they're like a level beneath that.
To me, still like top 5 to 10, maybe.
I'm not sure if I've thought about it enough or if I even know enough, honestly, because just because of all the matchups in the game. But my general feeling is that they're a strong faction. I feel like they're well equipped to deal with most things in the game. The only reason they're not like top tier is because there are some things they struggle to deal with. But if like I had to enter like a high stakes tournament today, I would pick Deepwood Groaks just based on all the factions I play, you know? So I think they're a strong faction.
Like that's if you just had to pick one faction, you'd pick them over the other factions you play, including the Shadow Elves.
Yeah, let's say we're in a tournament where like my real life is on the line. I die if I lose. I'm picking Deepwood Groaks. So I have to say they're a strong faction. I think they're like a nice, healthy, strong though. I like they're like the kind of strong I like to see in the game. I'm not sure how it is for the opponents or whatever, but I wouldn't say they're overpowered at this stage. They're like borderline, almost too strong, which is kind of like where I like factions to be, you know? I kind of like the Clash of the Titans, all these cool asymmetric factions matching up against each other, doing kind of unfair things, but it's not like actually unfair, I don't think.
So what factions do you think they do struggle with then, if any?
I have to be careful because I have so many plays from before the nerf. So I have to be careful not to conflate memories. But I would say right now their hardest matchup is the Filth. I'm pretty firm in that opinion right now. Like I could change my mind later if I play a lot more and play other matchups a lot more. But right now I would say my biggest fear would be the Filth. Mixing like new and old knowledge, like going off my old matchup knowledge, plus just like with the general assumption that they're a bit weaker now. If we assume that they're weaker now, then I would say after that, the ones I would look at as being more difficult, maybe like Sand Goblins. I'm not really confident about that because I haven't played it as much with the new one, you know? But just kind of like theorizing and mixing like with what I knew before with the assumption that they're weaker now. I would say maybe Sand Goblins is one to watch out for. They do quite good against a lot of factions. I would say they don't like since changing the starting setup. I don't think they have that many like bad matchups or terrible matchups. I think the Filth is a pretty bad matchup. But other than that, I'm kind of skeptical that they would even really have any like really bad matchups, and that's kind of like what makes them strong. When we were talking about their strength before, I feel like that's one of their big advantages. They aren't really super scared of that many things.
What do you think about Wayfarers, both in the matchup and potentially where you think they stand overall? But I was mostly thinking about the matchup.
Oh, where I think Wayfarers stand? Interesting coming from you. I should ask you that, right? As far as DG versus Wayfarers go, Celeste can get going really fast. It can look really hard or really bad, but I think overall it's not a bad matchup for Deepwood Groaks. There's just so many different memories coming into play when I think about the Wayfarers.
Like you said, from some of it's from the previous version.
There's definitely been a lot of like regular Wayfarer players that aren't you, that where it doesn't feel they aren't really able to do much or get much going. So it just happens sometimes. It's hard for them to get just like Cave Goblins. It can be hard for them to get something going, and then Deepwood Groaks can kind of get entrenched, and then it doesn't feel like a hard game at all, you know? I guess what I'm saying is it can be swingy enough that it's hard for me to like have a confident stance on it. But I don't feel it's a bad matchup, if that's kind of where the question was going.
Kind of what I was curious to hear your thoughts on, if it was a bad one. But I think I've just had a few lucky games against good players as the Wayfarers, that it just felt like, hey, the Wayfarers can handle this, you know?
I mean, you're really good with Wayfarers. I play a lot of Wayfarers players. You're actually genuinely really good with them. So just give yourself some credit. You kick our asses sometimes. Thinking about the whole field of like Wayfarer players I played, which is probably one of the more common matchups I've played. I should have more to say about it, but honestly, it can be pretty swingy.
Do you find that like rush factions tend to be a difficult one for DG to face? Cave Goblins or Forged or Wayfarers, or I know you just talked about Wayfarers and said it wasn't that bad, but like those factions that can really get up in your face, do you find they are more difficult? Tundra Orcs being another one, or like less difficult for?
Oh, geez. It can feel like it sometimes because they're a slow faction and those factions tend to be disruptive. And kind of like what I said in the beginning, with DG, you're kind of trying to like get your pieces online and like you're not very strong at first, but then you get some boost, then you get Swift Potion, you get Strong Potion, you get Seers, you get stuff, and you have a network of wardens protecting stuff, and all of a sudden you're feeling really good. It can be very hard to get to that situation against rush factions. Silver lining is that if you do get to that situation against rush factions, they're absolutely screwed. I mean, Forge is a little bit of a different story, I would say, but like if you just think about like your cave goblins, they can be good at disrupting you. They can make you feel like you can't breathe. They can do their thing. And when they do, you might think it's a bad matchup, but sometimes you're able to defend long enough to get online, and then it's like, well, how do I even lose this game? I would say overall, those two situations kind of balance each other out. I don't feel that they happen to have a bad matchup to rush factions. I'm not saying they're like good against rush or bad against rush. I just think like the way the current factions in the game line up, I don't think that those are like necessarily bad matchups, but they can definitely feel that way on a particular game. But overall, like every game into account, there's definitely like a mythology around Deepwood Groaks. Like it's like rushing them was like the answer to beating them for such a long time, right?
Like that was the idea some people tried to propose, and I would try it and then fail, and then I mean this is back when they were stronger. I mean, like a lot of other factions, you just kind of have to play around what their tools are as long as you can, and then find openings that make sense. Like you said, they have a lot of good tools, and like you were saying, if you get ahead with the Deepwood Groaks against like cave goblins or wayfarers or whoever, like you can just be in a position where they can't do anything, and you're just going to win on econ.
Yeah, and those factions can be very good at disrupting you though. So it there's definitely a game to play. Like almost any game, there's going to be a challenge at some point. I don't see like a strong weakness to rush, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It can feel that way sometimes. Some players are really good and they're really good at putting pressure on, and it can feel like you can't do anything. When you asked me about the bad matchups, I didn't name Cave Goblins. That wasn't an accident.
Yeah. How do you feel about Spectral Conclave? Because that's one of the newer ones that a lot of people think is a strong faction overall.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. I definitely think they're a strong faction. DG has like a lot of the tools you need to fight them, though.
Yeah, I think Seers are great against them, right?
Yeah, Seers being able to hit illusions from far away is probably a really good tool, yeah.
Yeah, and even the 2 boost can come in handy. The Swift Potion can come in handy. They have the tools, and I'm actually playing it quite a bit at some point, but I haven't played it in a long time for whatever reason. Was that player TYT or something? Like I played against him a lot. He's really good with Spectral Conflict. He had a way of playing them that we had some good matchups. I wish I could remember how it went, but they both have foils for each other. Deepwood Groaks has amazing tools against Spectral Conclave that are unique to DG. So that might make you say like, oh, DG is a good faction against them. But then also Spectral Conclave has a lot of stuff that DG doesn't like. So I think it's interesting, good matchup.
Lime is another player who's played a lot of Spectral Conclave recently, I think.
Oh, Lime? Yeah. Oh yeah, Lime's an excellent player. Lime's very challenging, but I'm not sure if I've played Lime Spectral Conclave or not. Maybe I have. I don't think I have with DG though.
You've branched out into just very few different factions. You've played, like, for the most part, just like 5-ish factions.
Let's see. Tundra Orcs, Obsidian Dwarves, Deepwood Groaks, Shadow Elves, Chosen Grove.
And briefly Mountain Vargath as well, too.
Oh yeah, Martin Doggett. Yeah, I almost forgot them. Yeah.
6 different factions. Do any of the upcoming factions look like they're going to pique your fancy, whether it's Drake's Sun Rebellion or...
I haven't been paying attention to them, honestly. Wake me up when there's previews or whatever. Otherwise, I'm always interested in new factions, but because they expand my opponent pool too, an expansion with a new faction, it's like an expansion to the existing factions also. Each matchup can be so unique, you know? If I enjoy Deepwood Groaks, it's also enjoyable to play Deepwood Groaks against new factions. So I'm always excited for them. It's hard for me to predict. The only one I was able to predict that I would like the only one I predicted that I would like ahead of time was Obsidian Dwarves. So I don't really try to.
Yeah, because I remember you seemed excited for Spectral Conclave, and then something switched, and you decided not to play them, or
I don't really like them when I played them. I was interested in them due to the symbols. Like, I just thought it would be a cool combination. I just wanted to see what it would do. And I'm not saying it wasn't cool. I'm just saying it's not for me. But the tricky or whatever cunning plus the control, I was just kind of curious what that would look like. I think control in general is just kind of interesting to me. The control symbol, like I kind of want to see what all the different pairings look like once they come.
yeah, you've got the Deepwood Groaks that are one that you like. Have you ever considered the High Elves, or
High elves? Oh, I'm not touching that.
do you think it's just too much to go through? Because I feel like they're one of the more like mentally challenging decks, and you can't play them quickly the way you might play some of these other decks. But when you brought up control factions, I thought of them.
No, they'll leave that to the RD Broys or whatever and the Prophets. I like playing against them though. They're pretty cool. They're a cool faction for sure.
Yeah, I've been impressed at how different all the factions feel, even this far.
It's definitely impressive. I used to always worry or think like, oh, they're gonna hit like a limit. They're not gonna really be able to do anything cool. They're just gonna start like remixing stuff just for the sake of it. But they always pleasantly surprise me. There's always some like whole new like I'm like, what? I never would have imagined that. That's crazy. That's pretty impressive at this stage, I'd say for sure. With dozens of factions, like being able to blow our minds with anything new at all, like that's pretty crazy. So definitely a big achievement this game.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 of the new ones coming out that I'm very interested.
Oh yeah, which ones? Or are they secret?
No, they're not secret. They've been talked about. Thornhold Dre is one I'm very excited about.
Oh,
I
nice.
like them a lot. The Squirrels. The one that Joe just coded, and he did this on Twitch, so all the cards are basically public knowledge, or they were based off the first test. They'll be changing throughout playtesting. But the Moonstep Wolves, like werewolf faction, that is in playtesting right now, and that one is, I'm playtesting a bit, and I like that one a lot. That one seems a lot of fun. A lot of werewolf transformings and pack tactics and stuff. And the Drake's Son Rebellion I liked a lot when I playtested them. I always taper off a little bit before a faction ends, so it's always a little bit of a learning experience when I go back to them, because I normally don't play like the last like couple patches, like the last 1 or 2, and so it's always a little bit different than what I remember when I come back to it. But I remember liking them a lot too.
Yeah, I think it's been spoiled, right? That they have a champion starting on the field.
Yeah, they have a dragon champion starting on the field.
Yeah, I remember reading about that a long time ago. I think when they were just a concept. We'll
Yeah.
see how it
So
goes.
they'll have 4 champs in the deck, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's a different one. For the bad matchup, something Allies mentioned, which he'd been playing like a lot of Deepwood Groaks for the testing for like the change. Like I remember him having some concern that maybe like they might struggle with some of the super economic factions that have like better economy than DG. And what he said sounded really credible to me, but I haven't really been able to verify it for myself. So that's why I didn't really touch on it. Like I haven't really experienced any matchups that I thought were bad other than Filth, honestly. So that's why I kind of cut it short there. But it was a theory that made sense to me. Like he was kind of theorizing that stuff like Savannah Elves and Fungal Dwarves might be an issue for the Deepwood Groaks currently.
I don't think fungal dwarves are, depending on how you play them.
Okay.
Fungal dwarves used to be a really bad matchup for, like, Deepwood Groaks used to dominate fungal dwarves before the changes.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's closer to even now. Deepwood Groaks, if you play like a laid-back fungal dwarf game, I feel like win that most of the time. But I've been getting like super aggressive with fungal dwarfs on them, and then I think Deepwood Groaks struggle a little bit more with it. And I've had success that way.
Well, that's good to know. If they can deal with like fungal dwarves economy, then I would say then that's probably fine. Then they can probably deal with anything. He said that might be a concern. It sounded plausible to me, which is kind of crazy because, like you said, fungal dwarves used to be one of the worst matchups or one of the best for DG. So
it was so brutal.
I was kind of surprised to even think about that they're now a bad matchup. It wasn't like conclusive or anything, but it just was an interesting theory that I saw. But I haven't really put it to the test.
Yeah, the problem is like fungal dwarves struggle so much with the approach, and if you have seers out and in place, you can just destroy anything before it fully approaches. So if you don't go like aggressive and get like some forward gates and get that approach, have a lot less space to take up before you have to get to them, then that long approach is just going to kill you every time if they can get those seers in place, because your beast then becomes 1 health by the time it gets there, or dies before it gets to attack. And
I mean, DG can have similar struggles with approach. Do you think the monstrosity is free in that matchup, or is it not enough, or what?
if you do the long game, I think you definitely can get the monstrosity out. I don't always go for it in the more aggressive games.
When he was saying that, that's kind of like what I was thinking about. I was like, okay, well, maybe he means like it's like harder to deal with like monstrosity now than it used to be. But
Monstrosity is not the win condition people think it is, though. It's still only 1 card, and if you focus fire it, it'll die in like 2 turns. If that's like what you're leaning on, if you have a lot to support it, yeah, it's great. If you're struggling with everything else and you get monstrosity out, it's not going to win you the game. It needs a lot of support.
Okay, well, that's good to hear from a top Fungal Doors player that I can worry less about that, because that's not a very common matchup on the online queue. So yeah, so I haven't really gotten to try it, but I was wondering about it.
Yeah, I played it recently in the league, so I'm fairly confident.
Oh, it was in the league. Oh yeah, that's right, it was. I did see that. Yeah, it looks like Fungal Doors won that pretty cleanly, but I don't know. Like, it seems like not a lot of people actually play Deepwood Groaks that much.
Yeah, I won both sides of it.
Remember, I was curious because I think it was like the first thing they've done since the nerf, so I was kind of just curious to see where it would land, or with the starting change setup, I mean. So I was kind of really curious about it. So that's why I looked at I don't normally follow the league much, but I looked at that one, and if I remember correctly, it was like...
Yeah, leans Fungal Doors based off the league.
Okay, yeah.
41.3%.
Okay, yeah, I was remembering like 60-40, so yeah, basically.
Well, we appreciate you coming on the podcast and talking Deepwood Groaks with us.
Yep, ribbit.
If anybody wants to meet your Groaks, they just got to queue up some... What are you doing more nowadays, 45-minute or 3-day?
Yeah, I've mostly been doing 45 minutes on there, so you can find me in the 45-minute queue. By the way, Gate's the best unit still. MVP.
You heard it here first. Gate's the best unit in DG.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, because a lot of times people, they think like Tekken Gates is a waste or whatever, but against DG it's really not. It's kind of like their best unit. So kill those Gates if you want to win.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, this has been another episode of Discard for Magic, and we'll see you guys in a couple weeks.